We are live. Hello and welcome to the Village of Buchanan workshop meeting Tuesday, February 23rd. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you, everyone. And I just have one question to ask before we start the workshop. Are we done with the snow now, or is there more coming? Because
more's coming.
I think we're done. I think I'm done. Okay, so first item is discussion of pool status. We had someone look into our pool, a consultant, and he's here with us this evening, Andrew Bell. So Andrew, if you could just give us an overview of your findings so far.
Well, the overview is that the pool is old, and it was originally designed with a wading pool and a main pool tied together with the same filter system. And the wading pool portion of it was losing a lot of water. And so the question is, what do we do with the main pool and the wading pool? Unfortunately, the filter was designed back in 1977, does not meet the standard health code requirements for today's standards. So if we make any major changes to what we're doing, in other words, if we put in a new wading pool at the moment, we would have to do a major upgrade to the filter system. Right now, we can operate this season based on using the existing filter, because it's not a true change in operation, other than just shutting the water flow off to the wading pool. But we also have another issue with the existing filter, and is that the pump itself does not work and needs to be repaired.
For the immediate season?
For the immediate season, yes, sir. And I've called, that would be the pump and the motor. The motor is, the impeller on the motor is seized up, and you can't even get parts for the pump anymore, so we actually have to replace the pump and the motor. And that's that phase one proposal I've got in there to be about $9,000 for the parts and the labor.
So with that $9,000, we would be able to run the pool for this year?
That's my understanding. Yes.
Right. Okay. And so then the larger cost would be if we wanted to go anywhere further after this year.
That's correct. Well, you can operate it for this year, and then I guess it's a year by year as far as the health department's concerned. But again, if you don't change any operation, make any improvements, you can continue to operate the existing filter. But the question is how long before some other thing breaks and that type of thing. But for right now, we can continue using on a year-by-year basis.
So then, when in the pool report that we have from you,
yeah.
Where it refers to that estimated $9,000 pump replacement as a short-term solution, it's basically year by year. We might get a year, we might get a few years, conditional on other parts holding up.
Correct, and the health department not changing their mind. Okay.
In other words, they have to approve it season by season?
Yeah, they inspect the pool every year and give you a permit to operate.
Okay. I have a couple other questions. Sorry, go ahead.
I said it's my understanding that as long as we don't make any operational changes, we don't make any major changes to the pool itself or add a wading pool back in, that we can continue to operate it as is.
Okay. I have a few questions, Andrew, unless you have more stuff to go over first.
Go ahead.
Okay. So earlier in your report, it refers to the slope of the decks and water that runs into the pool, and that this is a violation of current DOH standards.
Yeah.
Is that something we need to correct immediately?
No, because it's part of the existing permit to operate.
If we go ahead with either option 1 or 2 to repair the pool, will we have to fix that then?
Yes.
Or yes.
You mean it under phase 2?
Yes. So the way I look at it, Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like almost a pre-existing non-conforming. As long as you don't make any major repairs to the pool, the other issues can remain. But as soon as you start going into a second phase, the $100,000 phases, you will have to make all the necessary changes to match the Department of Health regulations.
Right.
Now, as far as the deck drain goes, with the deck sloping towards the pool, I didn't address it here, but you could put a deck drain in right behind the gutter and run that to the storm drain, and that would solve that issue without completely replacing the deck all the way around the pool. You just have to cut a trench, right behind the gutter and install that trench drain, and you could repair the other pieces of the deck while you're at it. But that would be a fairly inexpensive solution, but the pool's a big pool, so
yeah.
That would be a solution to solve that problem if that's all you were going to do.
Okay, so that would not be a major cost.
No.
Okay. Next question. You make note that the pool was built as a diving pool, and it's 13 feet deep, whereas 6 feet would be satisfactory for anything we would use the pool for. Nancy, we don't do any dive. Is there any kind of is diving done off the deep end?
Absolutely.
So
they dive down. They sure do.
Okay. So
as this is part of the camp, Nancy?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like a Red Cross training type of thing, or?
Well, they use the diving board every day. The campers use it.
Okay. So then there's no reason that we would need to reduce the depth of that pool if that's even doable.
Let me ask the
you want to reduce the depth of the pool.
Nancy, I think the question was the diving board used as a benefit of it, or is it a requirement of the diving board? Is just a added benefit of being able to dive? That's the question.
Yeah, I would guess so. My campers use it. The guards use it in training. We have a deep pool. A lot of places around here don't.
Right. Does the high school have a swimming pool?
No. Helen says that, sorry, Helen, say that again. That I believe it's a requirement of 7 feet. But even, I think that's a tad bit shallow, personally.
Okay.
You
so
can
that's
just...
I'm sorry.
That's not something we're going to address then. I was thinking if it was reduced to 6 feet, do we suddenly save $50,000 a year on water? I mean, is there any advantage to reducing the depth?
The reduction in the depth would be a cost in the treatment of the water. I mean, obviously, if you're using the diving and you want diving, then you want diving. I mean, that's
okay. So I don't want to spend $50,000, filling in the bottom of the pool to save $1,000 a year in chlorine and water. Yeah. So there's no overwhelming reason that we need to change that. I think I kind of have my answer to the question.
Yeah, I think the reason I put that in there was that if you're ever planning to put a new pool in, that you may want to look at possibly a better use for that real estate of that amount of water rather than just having it just for diving.
Well, we actually are going to put a new pool in the year 2180 after they put a new nuclear plant over here.
We're planning on that already, right, Nick?
Yeah, 2180. It's on the calendar. All right, so let me go on to my next question, which is the wading pool. In my opinion, we should eliminate the wading pool, put one of those big rubber pads and a sprinkler instead.
Yep.
Would that be a big cost savings and require, does that, when you have a sprinkler, does that still run on a filtration system, or is that like a steady flow of water?
Both ways. And you can run the water and run it to waste where you don't have to treat it. And that has the least implications as far as the health department goes. If you recycle the water, then it has to go through ultraviolet light, and it's actually a whole separate set of health code requirements for what they call a splash pad. But if you collect the water and recycle it, then it has to be treated with ultraviolet light to kill the.
Okay. Well, with
Right.
the sprinkler, I imagine there are some sprinklers now that do a fine enough spray that your water use would not be enormous, and you could just do a simple system and let the water run to waste. So, pending a cost analysis and input from you, Andrew, as well as Nancy and everybody else, pending all the discussion, unless there's some reason not to, I would favor eliminating the wading pool and just going to a sprinkler. What do you think of that, Nancy?
I have been saying that for a couple of years.
Maybe that's where I got the idea, from our brilliant rec supervisor. She planted it in my head 3 years ago, and I forgot where I got the idea.
But didn't we get an estimate on that? That was looking like close to $100,000.
It was close. Yes, it was expensive. However, in my opinion, I would do the non-filtered water, because you can set it so that only when people are there and push certain buttons does the water go on. And that would save a lot of water.
I like that concept.
In my previous career, I had 2 or 3 put in, and they ran about $300,000.
Really?
Not cheap.
Yeah, but we're not big. We weren't talking anything big when we looked at it a couple of years ago, Nick. It was, a mushroom, this and that. And
Yeah.
Andrew, in your experience, like a little spray pool like that the kids press something, do you have any idea how much something like that will run for in your experience, Andrew?
No.
Okay.
All right. I have another cheap
we
plan.
put
Nancy, get one
small.
of the counselors.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Get one of the counselors to stand there with a hose, Nancy.
just sprinklers.
Yeah, Andrew was going to say something. Go ahead, Andrew.
We put toys in right in the pool itself, in a shallow pool or in a shallow end of a pool. If you guys are familiar with the new pool we put in over at Dobbs Ferry, we've got a zero entry area, but that water's recycled and that water's run through UV light. What you're talking about is something totally different, and of course, the temperature of the water would be, I guess in the middle of the summer when it's good and hot, you want cold water, but
if you guys want to see one, the closest one, I was here when we did it in Peekskill, right across the street of Bowman Towers. We actually put a spray pool in there. That was a CDBG project. So if you want to see something similar that's close by, that's one that I know of. But that's something we could talk. That's more of a long-term capital project than we have to discuss.
Let's see what we need to do to get this year, to see if we can get the pool up and running for this year. So because we're not going to make any big decisions right now, we have to work on some things and look at it. So, let's see what we can do to get the pool up and running.
Okay, we're not going to use the wading pool this summer. Okay. That I think has already been pretty much decided.
Yeah. So we got to go ahead with this $9,000 short-term solution, and then possibly apply that pump to the phase 2 work if we go ahead with that.
Okay.
Andrew, that pump, the changes that you want to do, that'll be just from the main pool, and then if we go with the wading pool, that'll be a totally separate system, correct?
That's a totally separate system, yes.
Mm-hmm. That's what I thought. Okay.
But you're talking about having to replace the existing filter before you get to that stage and upgrade the pool to the current standard. So,
and that's for the wading pool.
If you're going to add a wading pool back in, you got to bring everything up to standards.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
So, Andrew, why don't you explain your phase 2 $100,000 estimates, and maybe explain to the board and to the public what the differences are between those two numbers.
Basically, the existing filter is what they call a vacuum diatomaceous earth filter, and it's undersized. In other words, the filtration rate, the filter needs to be bigger to adequately treat that volume of water. So the two options here is to replace it with a vacuum sand filter, which would be similar in size, but a new filter that would be up to standards. And the second option would be to replace it with, that would be an in-ground, a vacuum sand filter to be in the ground just like the existing filter is. And it would be a matter of, it comes in a box similar to what's there. You would take out the old one and drop in the new one and reconnect your piping. I'm making it simpler than it sounds, or I'm making it sound simpler than it really is. But I mean, and then the other option would, it's a little cheaper, but it would be an above ground filter, but you would still need to have an in-ground surge capacity, which would be another small tank that would allow the water to come in from the main drains and the water from the gutter be balanced as far as the flow conditions, and then that would be go into the filter and then back to the pool. So that's the difference, is just in the type of filtration.
And those two options include putting the wading pool back in place?
No.
That's what I need to explain that too.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the third phase. If you wanted to put want to add a wading pool back in, it would be up to your option whether you wanted just a spray pad or you wanted to.
And to put the wading pool back in, how much estimated cost would that?
Well, I've got it set at about 90,000.
90,000.
Mm-hmm. So that's a good discussion to have in regards to spending 90,000 for that. If you want to discuss it, or do the spray pool, and then talk about that in the future if you wish to.
Yep. Yeah, this doesn't have any toys in it. It basically is replacing what you have there. Just just water to get wet in, for little kids to get wet in.
So Andrew, if the board decides to move forward with the $9,000 repair, you think we can get it done for this season?
I think you can.
Before June?
Well, we don't want to sit on it.
That's right.
I'm assuming, I'm going under the understanding that this is a maintenance issue, that it's not something we have to, we're going to put to the health department and get their approval. We're just going to fix it.
Yeah.
So we have to, I don't know what your bidding restrictions are, but this includes both parts and labor. This is an estimate for parts and labor. I did call the pool company or the pump company and get an approximate estimate of cost of the pump, and then an individual to install it. So that's where the 9,000 comes from. But
Okay.
Whatever your bidding requirements are, if it's got to go out to bid, it's got to go out to bid. But
No, we're way below the formal bidding process. But if there's normally we ask for other prices. I don't know, Andrew, if there's any other companies that you just can give you some email quote, and then we can go with your recommendation.
Sure, get 3 quotes. In other words.
Yeah, that's all we need.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
So is the board okay with us moving forward with the repairs necessary, just to get maybe get a couple more years out of the pool, and then we decide long term what you want to do?
I'm good.
Yeah, that sounds great to me.
Yeah.
What we're agreeing on is the $9,000 to repair it, to get it up and running this year.
That's correct. That's correct.
I mean, I'm going to say something. I'll probably end up being the bad guy, but I got to say what I got to say. So we have this pool open 2.5 months a year. It's a beautiful pool. It's just unfortunate more people in the village don't use the pool. It's just, anytime I go down there, there's hardly anybody using it. I know the camp uses it. I know they have a big use for the pool, and it's just, a lot of money, if we go into phase 3 and but we have time to think about it. But I honestly, I would like to see more people use it, because without the camp for those couple of months, 2.5 months, we lose about $50,000 running the pool. So
right.
I'll just put that out there.
And Teresa, you can make a good point there. The question is, do we just want to open the pool for the camp and close it, or do you want to leave it open for long term?
You have it open, so the residents should be able to use it too. It shouldn't just be for the camp. It's just.
Well, we also have to see what the COVID protocols are going forward.
Well,
it's looking like things are getting a little more favorable slowly, and maybe by the summer, it could just generally be open to the public with whatever, masking when you're not in the pool.
Nancy can give you an update on that too. Nancy, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. First thing, the cost of the pool permits was $1,000 last year, which was returned to us in October, but not put back into the pool line. It's put back into just the general line, okay? So there's $1,000 right there for the $9,000 that, we're going to fix this year's issues with, okay? My idea of running the pool, is we can open it a week or two before camp starts, and we can leave it open as long as you're comfortable after camp ends. I'm talking about the season. Camp runs June 28th to August 6th. While camp is there will be no other patrons there. So the pool won't open to patrons until 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then it'll be open to patrons on the weekend. A couple of ways we could do this, okay? Obviously, we will have family only, and they will be in their section, okay? And there will be space between each section, just like there will be at the camp. And mandatory, they have to buy a pass this year. No walk-ins. B, no guests. I've heard of a couple other pools who are also doing that, where you can't bring guests. You're either a member or you're not a member because of COVID and because of the restrictions of how many people were going to be allowed in the pool, okay? And the large pool is 125 people. So currently it's 50%. All right, so there's where you need either a reservations and you need to have a pool pass.
Nancy, on that question, have we reached that capacity in the past? Because I've heard that not too many people use it anyway. So do you think there's a possibility where you're going to reach capacity?
At 50% of 125 on a summer, or other pools are going to be doing the same thing and not allowing guests, that may be a possibility. Hopeful, in my opinion.
I didn't hear the governor's announcement today. Does anybody have any?
Here.
No updates. No, they usually don't let you know until a couple of days before.
They focus more on Andrew. They focus more on the summer camp programs and what they require. And then the nursing homes that was released today, and right. Summer camps, the day camps. They haven't heard anything much about the pools, really specific anything about the pool yet.
Right now, the Department of Health, we have to still go by last year's guidelines. Okay, that will change, they're telling us, but as of now, we have to run by last year's guidelines.
Unfortunately, we have a few more months, but
yeah,
it'll change for the better.
So Andrew, unless the board has any more questions for Andrew, I think we're done. I think Andrew, if you can get a couple more quotes, I think the board's direction is to move forward as quickly as possible to get this thing up and running for the summer. So that's my understanding from the board. Is that correct?
Yes, I'd like to see it up and running this year.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Andrew, anything else you want to say, Andrew?
No.
All right. I appreciate your time, Andrew. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next is discussion of operations plan. Oh, no.
Oh, no. Recreation program.
Sorry, Nancy.
Summer camp.
The next is summer camp programs and recreation. So, Nancy, where are we with the camp?
We are exactly where it's up, guys. My idea is, well, first of all, before we jump into that, the pavilion, I know that we want to get it repaired, and I know that they're waiting for the state approval. And we need a decision that when that comes through, it's either done before camp starts or it doesn't start till camp is over.
Correct.
Because
we're not going to have, Nancy, so you understand, it's a safety issue. We are not going to have any construction going on while we have children there for 6 weeks.
Right.
So we have how long have we been working on this grant from Senator Harcum from the state? We have been working on this grant, and the state was in debt quite a bit of money, and I think they've been holding back on making a commitment or putting that money out. So we're in limbo with that. We had gotten a grant for, I'm sorry, something's going on here. We had gotten a grant for $125,000 to do some rehab of the pavilion, and we're still patiently waiting, but there's not, that's the decision. If we get the money, it's got to be done before the kids are there, or we're going to have to wait because, we can't have anything going on, equipment and stuff with the kids around.
Okay, good. All right, so I'm planning on running it. We are an outdoor camp, which is to our benefit. I'm still waiting to hear back from the health department, although I probably won't hear from them until our meeting on March 5th, about how many kids I can have, because outdoor camps are different than indoor camps, our capacity. Regardless, under the pavilion, I will have pods. And right now, according to last year's guidelines, the pods were a max of 15 children, okay, in each pod. And then, so I'll have pods under the pavilion, but I will have 10 feet between each pod, okay, giving lots of space. There will be directional arrows. We talked about this last time, of going in and out. As far as camp is concerned, the only issue that I'm waiting on is, are we going to run it? And if so, when I'm going to start my registration date.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's discussion. That's why we're here tonight. So you will follow the CDC guidelines that are in place. The bathrooms will be cleaned. I know you have somebody that cleans. The bathrooms will be cleaned according to whatever the CDC guidelines. And my other question to you, I believe all the other camps are planning on opening up this year, from what I heard. Okay.
Yes, I've called around, and yes, they are. The issue that a lot of the camps are having that we don't have is they use school space. And so they're waiting to hear from the schools of how much they need. And we're fortunate not to have that.
Yeah, good point. Nancy made a good point. I was watching the news a little while ago, and there's a county summer camp program that goes outside. And Nancy, you'll be hearing the same thing. They put it out. They sold out in an hour.
Oh, yeah.
An hour they were sold out. It was outside camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was county camps. Outside camps are being sold out as we speak.
Right. Kathy sent me something today about camps in Westchester that are starting to open up, county camps and stuff like that. But the only one that is actually opening up is Muscoot Farm. Okay? And there's a golf camp that's waiting to open up. But there are other camps that are not opening up because they're poor. So we are very lucky to be an outdoor camp.
I mean, last year it was a tough decision for us to make. I know the kids love to go to camp, and it was hard for the kids over the summer not to have camp, and we felt bad about that, but we were just trying to do things for their safety.
Right.
But, I would have to ask the board. I am for opening up the camp this year, so I'd have to let the board members speak and see what their thoughts are.
I'm for opening up.
Yeah,
Nancy,
I agree.
I am too.
Yay.
Hey, Nancy, can I ask you a quick question?
I hope I can answer it. Sure.
Yeah, sure. I'm just wondering the part when are you going to have a separate area for drop off and pick up of campers instead of going right up to the front and just try to keep as many people away as we can?
Right. The parents aren't allowed to get out of the car. We are going to drop off and pick up where the group counselors take them to their groups, and we're going to stagger the times for both arrival and dismissal. So parents are not getting out of the car unless it's a dire emergency. So
excellent. I'm for opening the camp. Excellent.
Dwayne had a question.
Yeah, Nancy, on your date to start registration, you were saying that March 5th is the date you supposedly may be hearing from the state?
Well, we have a Department of Health RAPS Zoom meeting that day.
Okay.
So it's just more information that we will be given. That's.
And you're going to have two camps, two different time slots? I mean, not time slots, but camp 1 and camp 2?
Oh, sessions.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to offer option of 3 things: either all 6 weeks, or all the first 3, or the last 3. Okay, so session 1, session 2, or both sessions. Okay. And regardless of what you sign up for, because I've always done it where we keep the kids in their age group anyways, their grade group. So all kindergartners, there will be a pod of 15 kindergartners. Now, sometimes some of my groups are 30 kids. So maybe I will do 2 pods of 3rd graders or 2nd graders or 1st graders, depending upon what I get. Okay. So they'll all stay within their own pods. The one thing I don't think I can actually do this year is after camp, because in our last meeting, the Department of Health said that the pods have to stay together. You can't intertwine. You can't send one counselor in one group to another group. They have to stay in their groups. And that means after camp would have to be a group during camp, and the counselors would have to stay with them through the after camp. Okay. And I just don't see that. I'll take, I'll put a note on there that if you're interested in after camp, put a check mark here. And if I get 15 kindergartners, I'm just using that as an example, who want to do after camp, and their counselors agree to do the after camp with them, then I'll do that, because that's one pod staying together. But otherwise, I can't do it.
And how long would be after camp?
It's 3 to hours. 3 to 6.
3 to 6. Okay.
And we charge.
Well, that makes sense. What you just explained, Nancy. If there's enough people to form a group, I mean, if you have you said you're going to do pods of 15.
Mm-hmm. Currently, that's the max number of children per pod we're allowed to have.
Okay. So if you have a pod of 15, what if 12 wanted to do after camp? Would that be enough to merit?
It would.
So you don't have to have all 15. You just can't mix and match groups.
Correct. Even after camp. So if I have 12 or even 10, and the counselors in that group want to do the after camp, they have to commit to it. That's a lot. Okay. That's a long.
That's a staffing issue.
That's a long day. Whereas before I would be able to switch my staff around. Okay, you do Monday, Tuesday, you'll do Wednesday, Thursday, et cetera, et cetera. Now they have to be able to do it the whole time.
Yeah. So it seems to me that when you start registration, there has to be just like a, like you go to the doctor's office and you have to initial that you read this thing. There has to be a statement pointing out that we're subject to New York State COVID protocols, and we can't predict if it's going to be, a very low, low incidence of COVID summer, or if there's going to be another variant that's going to start, getting widespread. We don't know where it's going, as much as it seems like, and hopefully it's ebbing because of the combination of the vaccine and the indoor activities, especially over the holidays, are going to be fewer, and the outdoor activities are going to be greater. For a variety of reasons, we're hoping it goes down, but we don't know for sure. So there has to be a disclaimer thing explaining the COVID.
I think I can do that. I think everybody knows that.
Yeah, they do, but I think you have to put it. You have to make initial that you read this.
Okay.
I think.
Hey, Nancy, are we going to be doing some temperature testing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
They'll do the temperature testing before the child gets out of the car. I work at a private school up in Manitou, and they do that every single day. They've converted to an outdoor school, so I'm getting used to that. Yeah.
Very good.
Will there be I was going to a few different construction sites over the winter, and before you go in, they check your temperature.
Yeah.
And there was also a daily attestation form, like we have online now. Before you go back into the village hall, you have to fill this. Have you been exposed? Have you had a fever? All the usual questions. So, will there be a daily thing? Anybody in your family? Have you been exposed to anybody? Do we need to have that on a daily basis?
We can. Absolutely. I would personally.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, and Nancy, after your Zoom meeting with the county, you're going to get more details from them as well.
Yeah, they may not.
I would wait until you have that Zoom meeting before you put the registration out, so you can see any other directives or
Exactly.
you're going forward with that.
Right, exactly. Okay, another question is, not question, the bathrooms. So my plan is to have hire a couple of staff to be in stations. So whenever the playground is being used, one group at a time, they switch. Somebody will be stationed on the playground, assuming I can get the staffing for this, and just do a quick wipe down or spray down of it. The bathrooms, I'm going to have somebody there so that every time it's used, somebody will go in, wipe it down, and then we'll do our good spray again with the microban stuff periodically throughout the day as well. But those people will rotate stations. They're not going to stay there all day. I'm thinking probably half hours, so they're not bored or they're not just numb-minding, going, ah. Oh, and in the bathroom, instead of having the doors, we can either take the doors off or put the doors open somehow, put a shower curtain there so the kids aren't constantly touching the doors. That was just the thought somebody gave to me.
Then they're touching the shower curtain.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Can we just have all the campers and all the counselors wear a diaper for the day so they don't have to go to the bathroom?
No, it's not an option. What I wanted to remind the board, remember that BV has been using our pavilion since the start of school for music and for gym. And so, you'll see the kids occasionally walking over there, and knock on wood, that's going well for us and for them.
It's important to outside.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Couldn't you even? I mean, how many entrances are there in the bathroom? One for the boys, one for the girls.
Yes.
One for men, one for women.
Yes.
Can't we just get those portable hand sanitizers that they're required to just use them when they come out? Somebody can actually see that.
Sure.
I mean, that might make more sense rather than worrying about what they're touching. Once they come out of there, once they clean their hands, at least we'll know they're not going to be contaminating anything outside.
Yeah. They have the one that's on a stand that's battery operated, so you don't even have to touch it. You just put your hand there and it squirts you.
We have that at the schools. Yeah, we have those at the schools, and I think those are great if we can invest in one of those.
Well, we need more than a couple of those. Yeah.
That's right. A few of them.
I'm planning on every group having one at their tables.
Oh, okay.
Good. All right.
Excellent.
So we're moving forward with that. Nancy, wait till March 3rd, and then we can move forward, which will be great. I'm sure the kids will be really happy.
Terrific.
We also wanted to talk about the Easter parade. So instead of Halloween turned out well, that was excellent. The kids were all excited about that. And so we're talking about having an Easter parade instead of an Easter egg hunt. Today I saw that the city of Peekskill was having the hunt. So it's just kind of hard with the kids running all over to keep everybody separate. So I just think the Easter parade,
right.
might be something.
Did you guys open up my new flyer? Because I did that today.
I did.
Okay. So what I'm thinking, so that we don't have to really close off streets, is making it an Easter egg extravaganza. I liked Nick's idea with he used the word weird hats. I don't want to do that. I want to do fancy, they decorate their own fancy or funny hats and face masks, and they wear those. They can park in the parking lot of the pool or Westchester Ave field right there. They walk in the front entrance of the gate, and now they will have areas roped off, and they'll walk basically to the left and around where we will have stations of people handing out candy and the eggs and everything like that. And they walk out the exits where the bathroom is there. Okay. I will have roped off, and I will have sectioned off a spot in the very center of the pavilion so that the Easter bunny can at least be there and waving. But there will be nobody allowed to go in that area. Okay. I will have plenty of adults to help guide and adjust how many people are in the pavilion at once. Started at 1:00. I will put a time, like from 1 to 2:30 or something like that, which gives people time to show up. And I don't have hopefully, a gigantic group at once. They can come in anywhere between 1 and 2 or 1 and 3:30, or 2:30, something like that. Your thoughts?
I think my one thought is I love the Easter decoration for the hat or the mask. Would you be doing anything for somebody judging it, to give out like a chocolate bunny or something like that, for the craziest or whatever?
Yeah, I used to do like the golden egg type thing. I can absolutely, yeah, sure. Yeah, I used to give out like 5 different nice big wrap things a year to that. Sure.
That might be fun.
Okay.
Fun.
Yeah, like chocolate Easter eggs and hand sanitizer in a basket.
Or a hand sanitizer statue in chocolate.
You never know. What's the rest of the board think? Are we good?
Yeah. I think
Great.
I think Nancy's thought through a lot of this stuff. I think it could all work.
Definitely. And then if it rains, Nancy, you'll just have to, somehow.
Well, we're doing it on the pavilion. Rain or
the pavilion, right. Yeah.
I'd be thought about that going,
Yeah.
I do 2 dates, so it'll be March 27th.
March 27th. Okay, great. Good.
And you know what, Nance? You did such a great job with that Halloween thing. If anybody could pull this off, you will. That's great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm all good with that.
Great, thanks.
So do we have anything else recreation-wise? Are we good with the recreation subjects?
Teresa, are we doing the corned beef and cabbage for the seniors?
Yes.
Oh, we are?
You.
Okay.
Yep. So,
And they're to the Village Hall to pick up, right?
right. So they're going to they have to sign up for it. And they're going to, the president Cheryl is phenomenal. So she's arranging that. And what they'll do is they'll drive up to pick up their corned beef dinner, and they'll just drive through. And for those that can't get out, they'll deliver those to the.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, it's been tough, not only for the kids, for the seniors. We've all been shut-ins, and, it's time to, when we can, have a little fun safely.
Right.
Yeah. The seniors need some version of an outdoor camp, since they're still not going to be meeting inside.
Yeah.
They could have done outdoor meetings last summer, but they didn't.
Yeah, well, everybody was still pretty scared,
Yeah.
There was no vaccines, and there was the unknowns. I
mean, I don't know how everyone's done as far as getting their vaccine. I go on the state website 5 times a day, and I can't find.
That's right. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, I haven't gotten sick. I'm sure I have antibodies for a while, but you still have to go out and get the vaccine.
You do.
It's hard to get an appointment.
Yeah.
So,
Marcus,
but if many of them have gotten their vaccines, they might be able to do outdoor stuff June, July, August.
We've requested something, Nick, and so you guys know the county was looking for different sites. I don't know if it'll come to fruition, but we've requested to Marcus, if you want to explain, to have them come here.
Sure. They were looking for pop-up sites for vaccine distribution, and so I talked to the mayor, and we talked about the second floor. I think it will be a great location for something like that in the area. We have the parking lot, and then you can park on the street as well. So I did volunteer at Village Hall on the second floor to give vaccines. The county's taking that under advisement. But as we've seen, most of the pop-up vaccines are more in different kind of areas right now. So Buchanan hasn't hit the top of the list yet, but hopefully they will. That we can start giving vaccines to our seniors and to emergency management people, but we haven't hit the second phase yet. So I'm hoping
different kinds of areas.
Yeah, well, Yonkers, the Bronx. They were looking at Portchester.
Higher minority population.
Correct. That's correct. Yep. So we're not hitting that list yet.
Right.
Maybe we'll get lucky enough, and then we can have people in the area.
But I actually reached out to Michael that if seniors start getting vaccines, the possibility, if more seniors do, like Nick, like you said, maybe after they get a second shot, they can start meeting on the pavilion for now. Mm-hmm. And as long as we know they already got the vaccine, they might be more willing to come out. So I'm hoping that happens little by little.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark,
you had your vaccine, and I've had mine, so yay.
Yeah. But the vaccine is still it's not a cure-all because there are other strains that the vaccine doesn't target that are increasing in spread, and you could still carry the virus even if you're protected. You could still be a carrier. There's unknowns. It's not getting the vaccine doesn't mean everybody could just suddenly start hugging and tongue kissing again.
No, no. The hope I was thinking, if we can get a couple of seniors to get the second shot vaccine with social distancing, and maybe they can have some events, some music, and then at least the seniors can get out someplace.
Yes,
they can do outdoors. Yeah,
exactly. That's what we're hoping for.
Well,
Marcus,
Dr.
you have
Fauci
any
said
idea
today
how many-
Dr. Fauci said if you are in contact with people, you've had the vaccine, and you're in contact with other people, you can go ahead and shake hands and hug each other.
That's what he said. I heard him.
Yep.
And he also said if you already had the virus, probably only one dose is sufficient. You don't need that second dose, that second shot. But anyway, Marcus, do we have any idea how many of our seniors have been vaccinated, or is that all confidential stuff?
I asked Michael, our senior director. Well, says a handful of seniors have gotten their shots already.
Oh.
So some have. So I know at least one also that actually got the second shot already heading down to Florida for a couple of weeks. So people are beginning to take advantage of it. So hopefully we can get the seniors together in the next couple of months, which would be nice to see.
It's a very personal decision because some people, vaccine or not, have conditions that make them more vulnerable and are going to be, and some people are going to be completely paranoid. Some for some with better reason than others. Some people are going to take chances that they shouldn't. It's a very, everyone's course of action that they decide on is based on their personality. And their condition.
And also if they suffered things, if they suffered as well.
True.
All right.
We can see Nick is on the recovery road. He was a little quiet there for a while, but
I haven't had any symptoms for about 2.5 weeks. I'm fine.
Good.
I feel better than before. Probably getting more rest than I was before.
True. Sure. Okay, so we're finished with the recreation and camp program.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy.
Good night, Nancy.
See you at the Easter parade.
I'm going to call you for orchid advice.
Okay, we'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, so Marcus, please lead us with the discussion of operations plan.
Sure. The operations plan is it was a requirement on the Governor Cuomo signed a law that was passed by the state that requires all municipalities that in New York to provide an operation plan to deal with situations like COVID or any other kind of emergency situation when in the community, to list who's essential, who's not essential, how do you deal with the circumstances that we just dealt with. And it's interesting, every municipality dealt with this and everybody got a plan together, but the state requires that a plan be approved and also has to be passed by the unions, which we did that as well. It has to be approved and then sent up to Albany by April 1st. So I drafted a plan, passed it by the unions, passed it by the labor attorney, make sure we meet all the requirements of the state of New York, which we do. Gave it to the village board for your review, and hopefully you guys can approve it at the March meeting. And then the mayor will have to be authorized to sign a certificate saying that we met all the requirements under the law. So hopefully, if anybody has any questions, I'll be more than happy to listen to it now, or you can send me emails, and hopefully at the March meeting you guys can approve it so I can get it up to the state by April 1st.
Marcus, you wrote this?
Yes, I wanted to there was some information from the state, so I got some information from the state, and then I had to organize it to match our requirements of the village.
Okay.
They gave you there was a template.
Thank you.
Yep. There was the template with some suggested language. It was almost like the same thing we do with the police review. They gave you some information and say you need to answer these questions, and that's what we try to do.
All right. I have one question. This lists all the essential people and functions and jobs and so forth. There's no reference to like village boards, planning board, zoning board, people coming into the village hall. Is there anything related to that in terms of there's this 1 to 4 scale on priority, and 4 being the lowest priority. The only 4, everyone was number 1 priority. We don't have too many unessential people in such a village with such a small staff. But the only number 4 was human resource and the recreation department. Mm-hmm. Human resource is not a separate department for us. It's part of people's jobs. So
that's correct.
So there's really no non-essential person there. But what about the? Is there any way that we need to address in this the village board, the zoning board, the planning board?
We're number 5, Nick, on that scale.
On a scale of 1 to 4, we're number 5.
Yeah, the reason why, because you guys can do a lot of work virtually. You don't have to come into the building like police or fire or DPW.
Okay. So we have. Yeah, I think the board members come in periodically, whether it's for vouchers or to talk to you or to pick up their mail. So, are we supposed to not be coming to the village hall at all?
During the time of the pandemic, like we did, like as you guys knew, nobody was coming to Village Hall during the height of the pandemic, and we were doing everything virtually.
Well, I'm asking partly because I came the other day, having been symptom-free for 2 weeks, and I had to take the vouchers home to stamp, which is fine. I just want to know what the plan is as far as visiting the Village Hall for the administrators. For the trustees. Should we be staying away?
I think no. I think the idea is something like this is like the mayor's office is available. If the mayor's okay with that, we can sanitize the room and you can go upstairs.
I don't need to come sit in the mayor's office. I'm talking about vouchers, and I'm talking if I want to talk to you or pick up my mail. That's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think what this operation plan has to do with the height of a pandemic or an emergency situation, like a pandemic, now
we have a Department of Health wraps the Zoom meeting that day.
Either you got the vaccine or you went through the disease. We follow the CDC regulations. So I think that what the operation plan with is day-to-day operations of working. But as long as you meet the 6 feet requirements and wear the mask. Yeah, the idea is you meet the CDC regulations. You can come to Village Hall and do whatever you need to get done.
All right. Are the other board members going, once a week or once every 2 weeks, stopping in? Or
yeah, I've seen everybody. I've seen everybody once in a while. Okay. Yes.
So, what now? I think so. I'm the only one on the board that had COVID, I guess, right?
Besides me.
Yeah. Well, and you were out for quite a while, but So it says in the. In this operations plan, it says, and this makes no sense to me, CDC criteria for COVID-19 provides that persons exhibiting symptoms may return to work if at least 24 hours have passed since the last instance of fever. You got to go more than 24 hours symptom-free before you can come into the Village Hall. I don't get that at all.
That's regarding CDC regulation regarding essential workers, police officers, and DPW. So
a police officer could have symptoms and have fever one day and return 24 hours later?
That's CDC regulations, yes. But that
the medical recommendations are, my doctor said you need to be symptom-free for 5 days before you go out into the world.
Nurses, doctors, police officers, firefighters, DPW guys. Those are the CDC regulations. Doesn't mean that we have to follow that. We could be a little more stringent and say, no, you can't come. We had, for example, our policy that we had a individual in DPW that might have COVID, and we made sure that he was able to stay home until we got proven that he did not have COVID. So we can modify that on our requirements. That operations plan is to meet the CDC regulations.
All right. Then separately from the operation plan, right for now, if you guys need me to do vouchers, if you're not going to let me in there, then I'll have to take them home and do it like that. I'm not going to deal with them. But if you need me to do it, you can give me a call and I'll come pick up the vouchers.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Nick, I just want to say, Sharon and I feel we've been very fortunate in not getting sick, and I just think we were being overly cautious with you.
Yeah, you can be overly cautious. I'm fine with that. So as a result, if you need me to do vouchers, I'm not gonna show up. If you need me to do vouchers, you just call me or
That's
text
fine.
me.
We will. Right.
and I'll
We can
come
do
pick
the
up
window thing
papers.
again.
I'll pick up the papers and drop them back.
Okay. Thank you.
You know, I'd rather do it than that. I can call Marcus. I don't, if I need to talk to him, I don't really need to see him. Much as I like to see him, I don't have to.
Well, don't forget, Nick, we got the whole second floor is open, and I got the mayor's office is open. There's places we can sit you up, sit you down, and not have to be right in that area. You could.
Oh, that's true. To do the vouchers, I could do them upstairs.
Yeah, the whole second floor is open.
I couldn't in the hallway there. I couldn't really.
No, it's not comfortable. No.
Yeah,
you got,
okay.
you
That's
can
true.
come to the second floor.
I could come if you need me, but still, if you need me to do vouchers, just contact me and I'll let you know when I'm coming.
I think we still just all need to still be cautious because the virus is still active. I have a good friend.
Everyone should be cautious.
Yeah,
Listen,
I have a good friend of mine, and
people are mistakenly people are mistakenly calling all the medical personnel the first line of defense. They're not. They're the second line of defense. The first line of defense is people being cautious and people wearing masks and people doing all that stuff. That's the first line of defense. When that fails, you go to the second line of defense, which is the medical staff.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Okay, so any questions on the operations plan?
Good job, Marcus.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So the next is we're going to, we'll be entering into agreement with Westchester County for the use of the voting machines. Election day is March 16th. That's something we do every election day. The next is authorizing an intermunicipal agreements with the town of Cortland. This is something the village has done for many years. We have different intermunicipal agreements. We have an intermunicipal agreement with the city of Peekskill, with the police department. We have the town of Cortland. We have the agreements with them, and then we also have the county. So it's something the village always, has been done. And of course, we are looking at another one. We're having discussions with it, but we're not there yet. So I don't want to mention anything about that. Marcus?
Yeah, I'll let Cindy touch this while I teach this.
All right.
Go ahead, Cindy.
Okay, so this is just our annual IMA with the town of Cortland and with the village of Croton for shared services of equipment. And also, if the town purchasing director goes out for any bids, advertises for bids, he will include the village of Croton with it in case we want to piggyback on top of any bids.
Okay,
That's it, simple.
And Teresa, you make a good point there, but we actually piggyback on county shared services, and the county actually offers GIS applications for us as well. So there is a lot of shared services, like you mentioned, the village of Croton, the town of Cortland, the city of Peekskill, and the county of Westchester. And then on top of that, all the other municipalities, we actually put in our bids a piggyback provision that we can always piggyback off of anybody's agreements as well there if we wanted to use that too. So there's a lot of shared services going on that people are aware of, and it's a great asset for everybody.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, so, and then we're going to be scheduling our public hearing for the 2020-2021 tentative budget will be on April 9th.
Now we're going to change that, Teresa. I think we were talking about April. We still have to pick a date. We don't have to pick it tonight, but hopefully we can pick it by the next board meeting.
Okay, we'll have that information by next Tuesday.
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you.
Definitely. Okay, and at the workshop, the March workshop, we usually go over the budget. We have preliminary discussions on the budget, so that will be happening then.
Yep.
The next thing is discussion of enacting a games of chance local law. Is Stephanie Porteous, our attorney, on the line? Because I know
she is.
She was having some computer problems before. Stephanie, would you like to go over that, please?
To the best of my ability, I'll go over it.
Okay,
So,
I'm sure you'll do good.
Games of chance is I don't want to call it gambling, but it's games where you can win significant prizes, bingo, lottery, raffles, that kind of thing. And I believe that you had somebody request that they be permitted to do that in the village, and the state said, well, the local municipality hasn't passed a local law which would allow that, in which case the state would then go through the permitting process on its own. But in any event, I sent you guys an email, and I gave you some links to some local codes.
Yeah.
It's it puts a huge burden on the village. If this is what you want to do, we can certainly pass a local law, but I think you all should read it first. I gave you Mount Kisco's. They all seem to mimic one another. I couldn't find very many municipalities that did it, and I can see why. If you look at what the law entails, you have to mind your shop, right? So if you want to do this and somebody comes to you and they ask for, they want to raffle up a car worth $30,000, whatever it is. First of all, you have to make sure the amounts are under the statutory limits. And your police chief would then be responsible for making sure that the rules are kept under our local law. In order to do a local law like this, it's subject to a mandatory referendum, which obviously you guys know. You put it out for a vote by, registered voters in your municipality. So I think that, although it's totally up to you, I don't want to make a suggestion one way or another, but I think that before we can talk about it more or make a decision, you probably should read the link I sent you and understand the requirements for the village and what our responsibility would be under it. It's not just as easy as saying, sure, go ahead and do your thing. We have responsibility to then issue a license, make sure it's being done properly, make sure only people that you want to be doing this, you don't want gambling all over your village. And so, in my opinion, it needs more discussion and taking a look at it, if you want to go that route.
Stephanie, I don't know. Is there a status of for nonprofits or religious organizations to do this activity, but to have that 501(c)(3) thing or something like that?
Not that I'm aware of. I didn't look at it, but one of the people that was interested was in fact a religious organization. That's who came to us. They went to the state for a permit or a license, and the state said, wait a minute, your community has not passed this as a local law. They don't want games of chance or haven't looked at the issue of games of chance in your municipality. And so they couldn't give the license or the permit to the church to run whatever it is they were seeking to do until we then decided to enact a local law. And interestingly enough, if a town does that, if the town of Cortland had enacted games of chance legislation, we could piggyback off of that by doing by a resolution subject to a permissive referendum, which means you can pass it, it doesn't go into effect for 30 days. If a significant number of your community members sign a petition asking to put it to a vote, a referendum, then you would. But the town of Cortland has not done that. And so we would have to go to a mandatory referendum.
Okay.
And that would be done when we have an election, and the time span now, it's only a few weeks before our next election to add that on to the election, the referendum. So,
sorry, say again?
No, if we're doing a referendum, we would do it when we have an election, which is only a few weeks away, and I'm sure all the everything's been printed up already. So, so yeah, it's just for this year. It's not going to work, and I'm just not sure. There has to be more looked into that before we make that decision. Also,
we also might want to check with the town to see if they may have any interest in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dwayne, interestingly enough, I pulled their code once I read the general municipal law, and I saw, well, maybe the town did it. We can sort of go a different route. They do have a code section entitled Games of Chance legislation, right? And then the note says, hey, we'll get back to you if they ever move forward on it. So it's kind of interesting. It's it's in there, and then there's but they did then go ahead and do a separate bingo local law. So they have that in their code. So they separated bingo from all games of chance.
Right.
So it was interesting. But no, they didn't do it as far as I can see.
Yeah, well, the Mount Kisco issue is kind of interesting in and of itself. So, yeah. Okay.
Who would it open up to? I mean, if we pass this law and a local church wanted to get the permit for it, it wouldn't open up to private homes. Is it only like social clubs, churches. I mean, it wouldn't extend to private homes, would it?
You know, I don't know. I didn't get that far into it because I don't want to delve into that whole area unless you guys are interested in even thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it does. Every year, the fire department, the Cortland Engine Company down there in Montrose, would have their bazaar, and there was all sorts of fundraising games and things like that. Is that not? Is that a different issue?
No idea what they were doing. Or
They
how
get their
did it.
rides and they get their, you know, roulette wheels or whatever. You buy coupons to play games, and you know, it's a big fundraiser for them. Does that require some kind of permit, or is that's not the same as this?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I can't tell you more. I looked at the law and said before I delve into this,
Yeah.
I wanna
Yeah.
see
Okay.
whether you're even interested in looking at it, because it does take a mandatory referendum, so you put it to an election. You
Right.
can have a special election, but it seems to me, I mean, the language, when you look at it, it says, you know, it looks like the intent of that kind of legislation is, you know, good deeds. You're a church organization, you're a volunteer organization of some sort, you're raising money for whatever you're raising money for, right? But for good things, right? It's not to do in your home so that you can buy a new car.
Right.
That's not the point. But I didn't delve into it enough to know if Montrose or fire departments would have to apply for it if they're somehow exempted. Churches are not exempted, so I wouldn't assume most other organizations are, but I can't tell you that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you,
Okay.
Stephanie.
Thank you.
Well, we have an increase in cost of a water leak repair.
Oh, wait, let me, Teresa,
I'm
before you
sorry.
get out, yeah, just to let you know, that was before we had a discussion with George. I think George was figured out another way we could actually do it within the same budget you guys approved, so we don't really have to discuss
We don't have
it.
to discuss that
No,
this evening.
we're good now.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect. Okay, that's good. Okay, board members, does anyone have anything that they like to comment on or ask questions?
Yeah, one thing you mentioned about the grant for the pavilion and how that's sort of in limbo. What about the grant for the sidewalk on 9A?
Still in limbo as well.
So pretty much they're holding on to their bucks right now then.
Yes.
Everything's been submitted, everything they've asked for, and every 2 weeks I send an email out, any update, and they keep on saying we're still reviewing it. That's all we keep on getting back.
Okay. So the another thing was there had been a something from you, Marcus, a suggestion that we whether we wanted to do the code update with the professional company that would review the code. There was an $11,150 was going to be the cost of that. Are there any thoughts on this from anybody?
We're going to have some more discussions on that at the workshop in March also, Nick, and then we, if everyone agrees, there's some more information we're looking to get, so then we should be able to, if everybody agrees, we should be able to approve that in April, so we can move forward with that.
I think our code does need some work.
Yes.
It's sort of been a pet project of mine. Every time we do something, I'm looking at things and realizing that something's not clear, something's outdated. I mean, it comes up a lot. So I personally think some organized review of the code to bring it up to date would be a smart thing. Okay, so we'll move that forward to another workshop.
Yes, sir.
And I had sent an email earlier. I know you and I had talked about this, Teresa, and it's come up a few times recently, but our building inspector had some ideas, and how do we go to the next step of discussing specific things that we could do as far as fines and wording in the code, changing to fee schedules that would help with enforcement right now, because we're not getting a whole lot of backup on the judicial side. We have some, if we're trying to enforce things and nothing's being followed through in the court, what can we do in terms of changing fines, fee schedules, et cetera, to mandate fines, set minimum fines if guilty. Okay, you still have the right to appeal, and but if you're guilty, instead of having the discretion to say, okay, 25, that'll be $25, you know, have a minimum fine, you know, something that we could do to strengthen it. If you're not guilty, you're not guilty, but, you know.
Yeah, we seem to be having some issues in that department for sure.
Well, yes, that's why. So I'm looking to see what we can do, what things we can change that would take some of the discretionary power away from the court.
I don't know if you could do that, Nick. I think the court, you know, once, you know, we could pass what we want to have, but when it goes to court, it's their discretion.
No, the discretion is whether you're guilty or not. If the code says that if you commit this violation, the minimum fine is $100, yes, the judge has the discretion to say if you're guilty or not. But if indeed you violated that code, then she doesn't have the discretion to say, okay, I'm not going to fine you this time, but next time, you know, but don't do it again. Or, okay, that'll be $25. You know, there's, I want to take the discretion away by a minimum fine, not the judge's discretion as to whether somebody's guilty or not.
Well, the judge can just turn around and say they're not guilty then.
Stephanie, what are your thoughts on this?
What?
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yes.
Stephanie, you muted yourself.
Can I say something? Can I say something to that?
Sure, go ahead.
I mean, you know, Nick, I hear what you're saying, but just from my experience, and I'm basically just with traffic court. You know, when I was a cop and gone to traffic court, they have all the discretion in the world. The judge does. Okay, and you can be fined for going through 3 stop signs, and each stop sign is a minimum of $150. Listen, you know what? I'm not going to charge you $700, whatever it is. We'll only charge you for the first one, $150. End of story. Does that make sense?
Yes, I've been to traffic court, and there's some pretty
So I think
ways
these courts
to get
are
out
all,
of things.
yeah,
But,
and I think,
you know, but if you get a
that-
parking ticket in the city, because, and you know, like I had one last year, there was a construction scaffolding, and the signs were kind of obscured. They had taken one of the signs and put it up on the face of the scaffolding, and I never saw the parking regulation sign. Okay, but I did park there, and the judge said, well, basically, you know, tough luck. The sign was there. Your explanation, it doesn't matter. You parked there. You're guilty. Pay the fine.
yeah, that we say it's their discretion. I totally get that. I'm just saying it's hard to separate that, where you could say, all right, it's a mandatory fine, and a judge could say, well, you know what? No, we're gonna look in a different direction with it. It doesn't have to be the amount that's set. Okay, I'm only talking, like I said, just going through traffic courts. That was I don't know if all courts are similar to that.
Okay, well then Stephanie, I'll let you weigh in. But my feeling is that this is a broke system. If we're not getting any kind of enforcement from the judge, and if we don't have any way to talk to the judge, then we need to move on from the judge. Is my feeling. I'll say that right now in public. We need a judicial system that helps us achieve what our goals are, and if we can't have that, we have to make some changes. There, I said it again.
Yes, you did. Steph, did you want to comment, or she might? I know.
You know, I don't know what else to tell you. You can set fines. You have a master fee schedule. Cheech is right in terms of courts, because I spent lots of time doing that, and the judge will wrap 5 things up in 2, save you some points on your license, you know, so they negotiate, and that happens routinely. And I don't know how you stop that.
Yeah.
I don't agree that you can't have a discussion with the judge. I mean, I think you should, if you think that there's something that should be doing differently, and they're open to hearing it. You know, I think I sent you an email or a memo regarding who can be elected as a local judge in our village. And, you know, you could think about doing something like that too and changing that. enacting a local law. There's other ways to do it, but I think you should open the discussion if there's an issue. And because it's just as frustrating for everybody else, like the building inspectors who are out there, running around and dragging people in, and we'll see how it goes. I don't know.
Marcus, was there an email with the building inspector's suggestions regarding this?
There was a while back. I can send it around again.
Would you? Because
Yeah.
I have trouble finding things.
Sure, no problem. I'll
that are
send it
not
again.
from the last week.
Yep, I'll send it again.
Thank you.
So let's see if we can open up some lines of communication here.
Yep.
Okay. All right, Nick,
You
do you
mean
have
as in
anything else?
have let's review what it is we'd like to, what specifically we're talking about, and then have a talk with the judge? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah, I think that would
Okay.
be, I think that
I
would
like
be the
that.
route to take. Okay.
I like that.
Good. I'm glad you like it. Good. Thanks, Nick. Do you have anything else? I'm getting slap happy now.
No, I have one old thing.
Okay. Old is good. New is good.
Okay, the last reactor is closing. Can we have a contest to redesign the village logo? Perhaps reaching out to the art classes at the high school with some, suggestions of things around the village that they can incorporate, whether it be the clock or the village hall or the river or I just have a scientist. It makes me gag as a former science teacher to see somebody splitting an atom with a cold chisel and a mallet. It's just,
It kind of breaks my heart to have to move forward, Nick. But yes, I've been holding this off until the last plant closes.
I know.
Because we will not be producing electricity here
Yes,
anymore.
I know. You lived
It's
here
been
your
a
whole life.
challenge for me
And
to
you're sentimental
accept.
about the logo.
I am,
know.
but I'm sentimental about things that we've had for years, and so it's
Well,
yes. But I know
it'd
it's
be nice.
time
I think we
to-
could do something nice, simple, river.
Time to move
clock,
on.
Village hall.
It's time
we could
to
leave it.
accept.
We could leave it to the artists. Maybe if you're okay with opening it up, maybe I'll try to figure out who. Dwayne, are you in contact at the school?
Yes.
What would I want to do if I wanted to sort of come up with a?
Well, we start with the superintendent and
And then the
put
art
out
department.
the word
So-
and go in that direction.
So how about I'll sort of sketch out some guidelines, and that we would send out, maybe, and I'll send it to everybody, or next workshop or something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think,
come up with some guidelines and then have a little design competition.
Sure, I think it'd be interesting for young people at the high school, and also maybe even reach out to Westchester Community College. So we can definitely.
Yeah.
I kind of like to keep it local. It's really about us. It's about the community. It's about the Village of Buchanan, people who live
Well, we
here.
could.
So, you know what
put
I'm
it
saying?
out
I don't want to go global on this.
We might have some artists in the village. We could put it out to the villages,
Absolutely.
within the
Starting
village. A lot of the kids go to private high schools, so they would not get it at Hendrick's. Maybe we could send it out with the news, the design, a page with what we want to do, a design, redesign the logo, put it in the newsletter 1 month, and also bring it to the art classes at the high school.
Okay.
And hopefully somewhere in there, there's an artist that comes up with something.
Yeah.
Hey, Nick. Hey, Nick.
Yeah.
Can we make it mandatory? I don't know if everybody feels this way too. Can we make it mandatory that inside that circle there has to be included a charcoal pencil drawing of you?
Oh, forget it.
I was thinking that. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So all right. We're going to move on this now. I know you guys have been talking about this for a couple years, but the unit 3 closes the end of April. So it's time.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a good idea, though. Seriously.
Okay. All right. Rich, do you have anything for us Nick, I'm sorry. Are you done?
I am. Thank you.
Okay.
I am.
Thank you. Rich, do you have anything for us this evening?
No, nothing.
Okay. All right. Dwayne, anything this evening?
Yeah, I just bring you up to date about the Historical Society, and we've been working with Senator Harkin in terms of trying to get some funding for do different things coming up on the Westchester County the Historical Society's 250th anniversary of the Revolutionary War, and we've been working to try and get some local funding with Joe Ryan, our former teacher over at Blue Mountain. So that's progressing. It got a little slowed down because of the COVID happenings and the money happenings, but we're still looking to try and get some help from Senator Harkin's office to keep history alive in the village as well as in the Hudson Valley. So we're working with that, but that's it.
Perfect. Thank you. Cheech, Cesare, anything?
Hey, yeah, I was just thinking of one thing. I wrote this down when we were talking here. You know what? We're coming up basically to the year anniversary of this COVID, and I was just thinking maybe moving forward, maybe in the springtime. I mean, it's affected so many people, and it's affected me personally with friends of mine as well. And sometimes it takes to hit home for you to really understand how serious this is, and maybe maybe we can plant a tree or something, just anything, just for a remembrance where people could look at it and maybe just get some, if I'm going to quote Bob Ross, we could plant a tree, go and make it your friend and talk to it. Just might make people feel better.
Okay.
What about maybe a bench with like a little engraving plaque?
That would be awesome.
Maybe at Lentz Cove or something.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Or even a flower garden. Like anything, just so we can all remember it, and have a place where we can just go and sit by ourselves and think about this.
And maybe we can have a little ceremony or something too.
Yeah,
Let me get to the beautification committee and ask them, what their thoughts would be too, and we'll make a decision. But I think, I believe it's the beginning of March. The county is having
March 3rd, I think.
March 3rd. So, as we can have something too. As we go forward, we'll have something because there are, several of our residents that passed due to the COVID.
Yeah.
Everybody knows somebody that's been affected by it. So.
I think it's a good idea, Chief.
Another thing,
a tree or a bench or something with a little plaque.
I agree. As nice as we can make it, a reflection area, I think that would be great.
One of the other things that we had were talking about a year or so ago with the Historical Society was that time capsule, and we had that discussion. So maybe
didn't you do that?
No, we never brought it to fruition. Was the time capsule and the planting of a tree? So we might be able to can join all of that into some sort of area where remembrance and tree planting and bring in the local school children and those type of things. A great idea, Cheech.
Yeah, make a big deal out of it too. It'd be nice. It really would have a ceremony, and it's important to a lot of people, I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure is.
Very good.
All right, great. Thank you. Who else? We have Cheech, Dwayne, everyone's spoken except me. Going on that same vein, we are working on replacing the entrance signs to the village. It's time for them to be replaced, but we need to do new containers. So we're still going to work on that. We're looking to do something. I think, was it you, Nick, or was it you, Marcus, that had gotten at least one price to do?
I had spoken to a mason about a little the redoing the one over by the what is that, Lake Street?
Yes.
No, across from the high school, is that Lake?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we wanted to do one on the corner by Blakely there, right? Which we kind of cleaned up that area a bit there.
It's good. Yeah, it looks good.
Right.
Yep. So yeah, those two. So we need to get a few prices on that, and
Hey, Nick, if you want to give me the information, I can probably reach out to some other people, get some additional prices if you got some kind of scope together.
All right. We were just talking about, I'll tell you what it was. When I brought the mason over there, over by Lake Street, I think it's wood now. There's just like a wood retaining thing for the sign. And we talked about doing a simple, a brick wall, a foot or two low, just a little raised, like a raised bed, and the sign in the middle of it with whatever. You could be a place they could put flowers. But it turns out that you can't just throw a little, 18-inch brick wall on top of the ground, or it ain't going to last long.
Right.
You got to go down and do the footing as though it was like a foundation.
That's
if
right.
you don't get below the frost line, whatever you do is just going to crumble in a few years, from frost. So it turned out to be a more expensive thing than, but we can ask masons if there's any way to, if anything you do without a footing is going to start to shift with ice and stuff. I don't know. We can try to get some other ideas.
Okay. All right.
In that area, we have to be careful. Remember, that property was sold, so I don't know where that sits now. If that's in the village right away, you know what I'm saying? I'm not sure. So before we replace that, we have some work to do to look at that.
Okay.
Right. Well, I'm sure there is a small village right away. Right now, there is a pit there, right? What is that? Is that to the
A water pit.
A water pit? Is that to the? Is that a water lines, or is that sewer lines, or storm drains? What is that?
I'm not sure.
But there's a pit there with a metal
on the other
hatch,
side.
and you can go down.
It's a water pit.
I would imagine between that, that I think right now we're like just about on top of that. Where we are now, we might have to move it. We'll have to look at the property survey to see what the village right away is.
Yeah, we can take a look at that. That's not a problem.
Okay.
Okay.
The other thing I'd like to say, we've had a few tough snowstorms, and we did have some complaints about sidewalks not being shoveled. So we are addressing that. But in looking at that, we have several seniors in the village, and they have sidewalks in front of their houses. And, guys, we're all getting older. There's not one of us that's getting any younger. So what I'd like to do, last year we got off easy, but, it seems like, maybe, we're still going to get some more snow. But I know the town does something, I think it's like a snowflake program. So I'm just, I'd like somebody to look into if we can set up some type of a volunteer thing. I know there were, I think, 3 people on Lindsay Avenue, or perhaps have the Boy Scouts or somebody to, to help not only the seniors, but there's other people too that are not healthy. They're not well enough to do it. So I think that would be a nice gesture, nice neighborly gesture for somebody to, for all of us to pitch in to help these people out. Pros and cons of having a sidewalk in front of your house, that's for sure. And I did mention maybe, I did broach the subject and about the village with the sidewalks, doing the sidewalks. And I know the town, I've seen it in Verplank where they do clear the sidewalks, but on the other token, it's a liability issue for the village. So it's kind of like you want to help everybody, but then, you have to be careful not to put the village in a liable situation. So just my thoughts on that. That's all. So let's see what type of a thing we can set up to help some of our neighbors that have a hard time shoveling. Tomorrow night, I want to mention the LWRP meeting, the local waterfront revitalization meeting. It's been advertised on Facebook. Not too many people have signed up. It's kind of important. They're going to be discussing Buchanan. That was a joint grant that we did with the town of Cortland to look at different things with the waterfront. And yes, let me say this. Let me just say this. We do not own the Entergy property. So, but we're just looking at things and just discussing it. If and when any of the property does become available, at least we've had some discussions on it. So I just want to put that out there. There's still time to register for that. And then I got a very nice email from Nancy and Walter Neff, who live on Seward Street. And it says, I wanted to let you know that one of your highway employees, Randy, went out of his way during last week's snowstorm to help us get our car out of the driveway. He was driving by with the plow and stopped to help us. He got the car out and could not have been nicer and more helpful. In this time of craziness, it was heartwarming to know that we live in an amazing village with such special people. Sincerely, Nancy and Walter Neff. So, you know what? That's always great to hear. You know, she's right. In these tough times, it's good to see people coming together and helping one another. And, you know, we have that a lot here in the village. It's a great place to live. So thank you, Randy. And good job. Okay, so I have nothing else. Any other questions?
We're going to resume the public hearing for the overlay at the
Yes,
next...
sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir. That will be the March meeting.
Okay.
Thank you for asking. Yes, we will be.
Which is a week from today.
Very good. Yes, it is. Very good.
I have a calendar.
First Tuesday of the month. Okay.
Hey, Teresa?
Yes, ma'am.
I think somebody has a hand raised in case you didn't see it.
Okay. Whoops. Yeah, you know what? I didn't see it. I'm sorry. I was on my email here. Okay, Marcus, whoever has their hand raised, you want to let them in?
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I can't see any hands raised.
did I mute it or unmuted?
You're good.
Sure,
You're good.
unmuted. Hello, Eileen. How are
Oh,
you?
hello.
Are you shoveled out yet?
Yeah, I'm so tired of shoveling.
Oh,
It
God.
is good exercise for your legs, not your arms, but your legs. You got to use a little travel shovel so you don't move too much.
Okay.
Fling it right over your shoulder.
Good to know.
Okay, I want to go back to the game of chance.
Mm-hmm.
I thought St. Christopher's had run bingo within the last 10 years in their in the recreation area.
I think you're right. I think I remember St. Christopher's having it, but how far back it was, Eileen, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't remember, Rich, but I do remember that they were having bingo. So
Yeah,
I
do
wondered,
too, yeah.
wondered how they got away with that in regards to the conversation with Stephanie and game of chance with bingo raffles and all the rest.
Don't ask, don't tell.
I know. Okay.
I don't know if we were aware of anything at that point. I know, just so you know, they do want to do a raffle for a car, and because it's over $30,000, they have to get approvals and all this other stuff. So that's yes. So now we know.
Okay. On the Snowflake or volunteer program, you mentioned Boy Scouts. I think you need to mention Girl Scouts also.
Absolutely, yes. I'm sorry. Yes.
No, just that you'll get in trouble if you don't.
I know. Thank you, Eileen, for saving me there.
Okay, and the last thing I wanted to ask, Teresa, you brought up at one of these meetings, it didn't necessarily have to be the village meeting, that you were glad that we had electricity, but you wondered what would happen once Entergy closed down completely. It was a kind of off-the-cuff kind of statement. So my question is, Entergy is closing. Has anybody, I've not heard anything from Cuomo saying where the energy that we're not going to get is coming from. Does anybody know?
The Public Service Commission had assured everyone the last couple of years ago that there would be ample electricity, and one of the things was, and I still laugh at it, one of the things was conservation of the use of electricity.
I know that.
Really?
Go beyond that, and where are we getting that electricity from?
Beyond that, when Unit 2 closed a power plant, a gas-fired power plant. So I have to say this because this really annoys me fiercely. So here we have nuclear, zero carbon emissions, and the quote unquote environmentalists are okay with gas-fired plants replacing nuclear energy. So one went online just outside of Middletown. I can't think of the name of it. I apologize. Now there's going to be, when Unit 3 closes down, there will be another gas-fired plant that automatically goes up online to replace another 1,000 watts. So, gas.
It's not in their backyard. That's the thing. Well, as long as it's not in my backyard.
Well, it's still in the Hudson Valley. That's the problem, Eileen. So, for people who have asthma, et cetera, that's not good having all those carbon emissions coming out in the air. So what's so hypocritical, we're environmentalists, but we're polluting the air that we breathe. So I'm not seeing how that's a win. I'm not seeing how that's a positive thing. There are other things that are in the loop of it, but basically those are the two biggest power replacements for Indian Point.
Okay, all right. I was just curious because we just flip a switch and expect the electricity to come on. We don't think about where it comes from.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, and I've said it publicly, I am not conserving. Okay, when it's the winter time, I am putting my heat on. I'm not sitting here in 55-degree weather to conserve. Summertime, I am not sweating to death. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not conserving. Thank you very much. It's not happening. So there's other things that are in the loop too.
I just wondered where we were getting the electricity from, and I guess we'll find out if we go with rolling brownouts, blackouts, whatever ends up being.
Yeah.
My last comment. Go ahead, Nick.
I was going to say, we like our creature comforts. Of course, I want my heat to be comfortable, my AC running in the summer and all this and that. But there is a good point to the efficiency stuff, which without even realizing it, like if, you can't get incandescent bulbs anymore. So the light bulbs we have now are using about 20% or so, or 25% of the power that the bulbs we used to have. When you buy a new appliance, they're much more energy efficient. There actually is a fair bit of savings that's been achieved through that stuff without us even personally trying. I didn't change my thermostat, but I do have LED light bulbs around the house now,
Oh, I agree with you in that. I'm just saying that I haven't heard anybody say where that 2,500 kilowatts is coming from watts. So
which won't matter except for it's the extreme weather conditions, heat waves, and things where you get tested.
Right.
That's the problem.
Okay. My last thing is that in regards to Walter and Nancy Neff writing that, my uncle stayed up here this winter, and the village came by because it plowed all the stuff into the driveway, and he was shoveling at 90 some odd. He was shoveling, and they asked him, is there anything we can do to help you? So they pushed the snow from the plow out of the driveways, and he couldn't have been happier. So kudos to the highway department, their kindness.
Yep, we can help one another. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. Good.
Yep. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, Eileen.
Take care. Okay, so is there any other, Cindy, does anyone called in? Okay.
No calls.
Okay. All right. So, we try to capture everybody's comments, and so I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session
So moved.
for litigation and potential litigation and contractual issues. So move. Second.
Second.
Favor.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, and have a great Buchanan day, everyone.